My goal against Blackburn, I seen oceans and oceans of space in front of me. And I'm thinking in my head, go on, son. You know, you're talking to your head when you got, different things. Go on, son. It was a worldie.
Sounds like Maradona's goal against England. Hello and welcome to the Rest is Football question episode. Thank you once again for sending them in. Lots of them, as always, and we appreciate you taking the time, and we'll do our very best to answer as many as we possibly can. Interesting one to start off with, chaps, from Laura Garside. Love the three of you together. The chemistry is unmatched. It's very kind of you. But if you could transfer someone out, who would you replace them with to do the podcast with?
Oh my God! Wow! Laura!
Oh, come on, Laura. That's a bomb and a half, that is.
That's a naughty question. Oh, dear. I think when you've got a winning team, you stick with it.
What a great answer.
Oh my God.
I wouldn't substitute anyone. I'm more than happy with you two.
Oh, you're so sweet, Alan. You're so sweet.
I'll have to go with Al. Yep. I'm not changing. I'm not changing. I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving.
None of us are leaving, Laura. We're happy with the team we've got, but you know, I'm the boss here, so that might change.
You're also on the 18th green. By the sounds of it, anyway.
Well, I'll tell you what, Alan, if I keel over in the next 48 hours, you're going to feel a bit guilty.
I know. I'll take that back. I don't mean it. I'm only joking.
Well, hold on. That's actually a very good question. If you pop your clogs in the next year, Gaz.
Jesus. Bloody hell.
Is that the end of the podcast?
Oh, dear.
We better start planning, Micah, honestly.
I know.
If I die in the next half an hour, you two are going to feel so f***ing guilty. Let's move on from my death. R.I.P. and all that. Charlie Johns asks, Gary, you mentioned on an episode last week that you're neighbours with Ed Woodward. Surely there are more stories you've got with Ed. Cristiano Ronaldo was signed when Ed Woodward was in my back garden. No. Yes, that was amazing.
And did you know what was happening?
Only when he arrived, he came. We had a lunch planned. I was cooking for a few people, and Ed being one of them. And he was on the phone when he arrived, and he was going, I'm trying to secure the Cristiano Ronaldo deal. I'm trying to, and because at that point, if you remember, I think he was looking like signing for Manchester City, wasn't he? And then he got the confirmation call, and he was sat. I've got a picture of him actually sat in the garden and in a chair at the back doing the deal. So Mukul Bharati. What was Ian Wright like in his prime and as an opponent and as a teammate? Love the show. Keep up the good work. Love from Darjeeling, India. That's where the tea comes from, isn't it? Darjeeling tea. Ian Wright was he's unique in many ways, wasn't he? He was so fiery on the pitch. He's always been a great man to have around, when you were playing with him, as I did towards the latter stages with England a few times. Not so much fun to play against, I would imagine, if you're a defender, because A, he was bloody brilliant, and B, he was a king of shithousery, wasn't he?
Lovely guy.
Yeah,
we all love him. Great guy. As a teammate, brilliant. You want him on your side. In the opposition, excuse me for swearing, but he was horrible. Because one, he was a great player. He was just, I mean, everything he'd say and do, he'd try and wind you up, and but we'll forgive him all that because he's such a nice guy.
So how long did you guys work together as, because I know he was at BBC, didn't he? And then he left and then he came back. How long did you have your famous trio for?
Well, it's been quite a number of years now, and obviously I worked with Ian the first time he was working with the BBC, and then he kind of had a fallout, and he went away, and he went to ITV, and the guy he had the fallout with then moved to ITV and became his boss there, Niall Sloan. It was always great to work with Niall. And then obviously Niall's now, he's with ITV again for a lot of their stuff. And but he was always fun to work with.
The days are a lot shorter with Righty, aren't they? Because you just have a laugh. And
Yeah.
that's the way it should be. Just like us three do now. It's great.
In fact, it's made me think maybe I should substitute one of you two for Ian Wright. I think he's busy doing some other podcast thing somewhere else, actually. Here's one from Gavin. What is your favourite goal you have scored in your whole career?
Oof.
Ooh. Easier for you, this one, Micah. Go on.
We've talked about many of my goals. I scored some absolute belters, by the way. But I'm going to go my goal against...
Micah, do you know how many goals you scored?
Not much.
Professionally.
Professional. Probably about 11, something
What do
like
you mean
that.
about? Do you not know?
Around that figure.
So it's 11.
So, yeah, well, I might be adding a couple on, but it's about... But my goal against Blackburn, I remember I was playing centre-back.
I remember this goal.
We did this on the top 10, didn't we? We did this on the top... But it doesn't matter. It's a new audience. The new audience want to hear it.
Want to hear about this tap-in?
I get the ball. I drive. We talk about breaking the line. So I've got a striker in front of me. I invented the breaking of the line, stepping out to call it.
I invented it. Did you just say that?
He was the first to break the lines. Only because when he stood on them, he was that f***ing heavy.
And then I went past one. I seen oceans and oceans of space in front of me. And I'm thinking in my head, go on, son. You know, you're talking to your head when you got, different things. Go on, son. I keep going there. I drop my shoulder. I drop it. It was nice and quick. And then I got to like the last line of the defense, so the last four. And someone's coming towards me and I think, what do I do here? I've run out of steam by this point. I'm absolutely knackered. Honestly, my recovery runs weren't great. But adrenaline was sort of seeing me through. I play a wonderful, wicked through ball to Benjani. Benjani, one-on-one with a goalkeeper, misses, hit the post. But I've carried on my run, like the coaches used to tell me. Carry on your run. Carried it on, and then just cushioned it. Lovely technique finish into the bottom corner. It was a worldie.
Sounds like Maradona's goal against England, apart from the bit where he came off the post.
It sounds like a great finish, Micah.
Oh, it was.
Alan, you scored some absolute worldies, as they call them now.
You know what I'm instead of my club ones, Gary, I'm gonna do my favourite England one. My favourite England one was that one against Holland in 96.
One where you sliced it.
Yeah, the sliced, yeah. I deliberately sliced it. That was my favourite England one, yeah.
Deliberately.
When Gaza could have shot, he squared it to Teddy. Teddy could have shot, he then squared it to me and then smashed it in the top corner. That was my favourite England one.
Well, I'll go with England as well because there's something special about scoring for your country. I actually usually answer this question with it's just a bog standard striker's goal, but it was so massively important. The first goal I scored in Mexico in '86 against in that game against Poland where we had to win, and I hadn't scored for a few games, and it was a nice little move, and it went down, and then Gary Stevens crossed it, and I made a run at the near post, gambled, and just slid it in. It was only a few yards out. It wasn't a great goal, but for me, it's more of how important it was, both for myself because I went on to score a hat-trick, which I obviously very rarely mention, and it changed my life.
When you say it changed your life, what do you mean by that?
Well, I went from being a player that was just kind of breaking into the England team. I'd had a really good season, a great season at Everton, but because of that goal and the subsequent goals that followed, I ended up with a move to Barcelona. If I hadn't scored that first one, who knows? History would have been very much different, possibly. I might not have played for England again if I hadn't scored in that game and we got sent home. Because
hang on a minute, you played for Barcelona.
Yeah, before you, well, not before you were born, Alan, but probably before Micah was born.
Did you know he played for Barcelona, Micah?
You've not mentioned it now.
Oh, don't get me started. I'll start talking about my hat-trick in the Classico.
Boom!
Boom! There you go. And on that note, what better time than to take a break? Got a question from Colm Mayher. Hi, guys. Love the podcast. Thank you. My question is, there ever a time a footballing memory might pop into your head when trying to go to sleep, even if it's a missed chance, a great goal, or in Micah's case, maybe a great clearance?
Very, very good question, that actually. Very good.
I think it's probably the hat-trick in the Classico.
Okay, now I'm just about to nod off.
I don't know. I think on the night of a game sometimes, I think, I don't know about you two, but I particularly in midweek games where you're playing late kickoffs, and I always find it very difficult to actually even get to sleep because you've got the game running through your mind, whether it's good feelings or bad feelings, that you kind of run it through your head, and it's just hard to switch off.
I never slept really after, even on a Saturday night, 3 o'clock kickoff. I very rarely slept, whether it was for good reasons or bad reasons, or going through the goals or going through the misses. I always slept a lot better the night after, rather than the night of the game.
You always dream, you know, when you get your first England call up, you always dream of how it's gonna go. You know, like, are you gonna score? I always sort of think, just don't score our own goal. That's always my thing. I don't know why I think that. Just don't score an own goal and you've done all right. Just get through the game without scoring an own goal and you'll be all right. That's what I always used to think. I don't know why, but it always used to come to me before a game. Weird, I know.
Peter Brees, or Breese, asks, what was it like playing against teams you used to play for or supported?
I never ever had a problem. I never ever thought to myself, I'm not going to celebrate.
That's more of a modern thing, that, isn't it, really?
Thought that was disrespectful to the team I was playing for at that time.
Although Dennis Law did it, didn't he, when he backheeled that one in that sent United down.
Whether I was playing against Southampton, Blackburn, or even when I was playing against Newcastle for Blackburn or Southampton, if I'd scored, then there's no way I'm not celebrating, because I work all my life to score goals, so there's no way I'm not going to celebrate a goal. Sod that. Doesn't matter who it's against.
I remember my first game when I signed for Everton. I'd been a Leicester fan all my life, and I played for them for quite a few years. Moved when I was 24 to Everton, and the fixture list threw up. The first fixture was Leicester City versus Everton. So my debut for Everton, league debut anyway, was at Filbert Street, and we went out to play, and I think we were fairly hopeless. We were 2-0 down at half time, and we all trooped down the tunnel, and for some reason I didn't turn right to the Everton dressing room. I turned left, because that's where I'd always gone, and I walked straight into Leicester's dressing room.
Oh, God.
And we were 2-0 down.
Oh, no.
I remember they all started, what are you doing in here? Oh, you want to come back already, do you? And all this. Oh, I was like, I could, honestly, I could have buried myself. It was just so embarrassing.
I went back to the Etihad with Aston Villa, and was going through a bad spell at a time at Villa. But there was a portion of the fans near me that just basically turned on me. And every time I touched the ball, they were saying, "You fat bastard." I was just like, I've been here for 14 years from the academy, and some horrible fans, only probably about 10 of them, was saying, "You fat bastard." So I was like, wow.
I felt so guilty when I was singing that with them.
Oh, but yeah, it was weird going back home to Man City. Everything's just different, you know? You just going, when you're at Etihad, thinking, oh, I'm going to win the game, but going there with Villa to Man City, just thinking, I remember one player said on the one player said on the coach, I can't tell you who it was, he said, I'll take 4-0 now. I swear to God. Like, what sort of mentality is this, honest to God?
Tom Bray wants to know if Alan can go into depth about his time managing at Newcastle and fighting relegation. Sorry, Alan. Would be great to know how. No, I think he wants
to depth. You know, it lasted a couple of weeks,
I'm having a lovely day. And then
he says it would be great to know how it came about and the ins and outs of what it was like managing. Well, tell us how the job came about, because it was a bit out of the blue, wasn't it?
I got a call, I think it was Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. I was due to go on Match of the Day on the Saturday. I got a call off Mike Ashley and Derek Lambias, I think it was. And my agent rang and said, they want to come and meet you. So, I said, I'll meet. And spoke to them and agreed everything. I mean, bearing in mind I was the 4th manager that season. We had 8 games left. We were bottom of the league, I think.
Were you on a big bonus to keep them up?
I was on a massive bonus, yeah.
Oh dear.
I was on a huge bonus. I had to ring the BBC and said, I'm not coming in Saturday, I'm taking the Newcastle job. And that was it. I went in Thursday morning.
What's it like, though, seriously, Alan, walking into a place when you've got like no experience of managing? You've been doing like television punditry and stuff like that. I mean, how do you actually get your head around, like, right, I've got to do a training session, I've got to get the players in, what do I say, what's the first thing?
I just wanted everyone to realise the enormity of what was going on, you know, the size of it, how bad a situation the club was in, and I just looked every one of them in the eye, and I just wanted them all to give everything. And if we got relegated, we got relegated. I just wanted to try and make it as comfortable as possible for them. I think it was Chelsea, the first game at home, who were flying. Who were one of the best teams around at the time, so that didn't go down too well. But then it's just trying to keep the confidence up. But it is, I mean, honestly, I loved it despite what happened. But I did realise, it did open my eyes to, oh my God, this is... Because you don't really appreciate how tough a job it is and how much pressure you're under, you know? Because as a player, you turn up, your boots are ready, your food's ready, your kit's ready, your tactics are there for you, and everything's basically pretty simple. You've just got to go out and play and score goals and do whatever. As a manager, you've got to decide what you wear, what time you leave, what the tactics are. And, you know, if it doesn't go so well on the Saturday, you're running through everything in your head. I mean, honestly, I hardly got any sleep for that 8 weeks, because I was going to bed at stupid o'clock and getting up at stupid o'clock and going into the office and working and what have you. But despite what happened, even at the end of it when we got relegated, I did, honestly, I looked back and thought, I really enjoyed the experience, but it opened my eyes to how tough it is.
Was that the most pressure you've ever been under?
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Can I just ask from a tactical point of view, you know, your meetings that you had, what sort of things did you implement in terms of, did you have long meetings, short meetings? Did you just write the teams? Because the old managers used to do it on like a whiteboard, just write it down. But it's moved on now where there was video analysis and all that sort of stuff. So where were you at the time?
Well, we did, I mean, as much as you want to play a system that you think is the right system, that all depends on who you've got available, the injuries. We went into one game, I think it's Stoke, because Stoke renowned for long balls, chucking everything into the box, throw-ins, free kicks. So I decided to play 3 at the backs, 3 centre-halves, 3 big lads. That worked. We got a draw there, I think. So yeah, in terms of tactics, it's like, you know, when you hear this, this is the way I want to play. Well, you can't really play that way unless you've got the players to play, you know.
One more question. Richard Martin, to Alan and Gary, who was your favourite strike partner for England and why?
Teddy Sheringham for me.
I thought you'd say that.
Yeah, it had to be. It was one of those where didn't have to work at it, really. It just naturally happened. He knew my game, I knew his game. His game suited mine and mine suited his. and it worked to perfection. And I loved playing up front with Teddy.
I knew you'd say that, and I think you'll know what I'm going to say.
Peter Beardsley.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think I was pretty much a goal a game, goal scoring ratio when I played with Peter.
He was brilliant, wasn't he?
Oh, what a beautiful football! He did that little jinky thing where he could beat players, and I never worked out how he did it. But he was unselfish. He worked really hard. And the other thing, he didn't really like going in the box that much. And I know people say you've got to get loads of bodies in the box, but I think I've told you before that I actually prefer it when there's no other attackers in the box, because there's more space in the box. Because if the more players you've got offensively in the box, the more they need to have defensively. So there's less space. And I love playing with Peter Beardsley, and he was a great player. Micah, it's unfair to leave you out of this question. Who was, in the days when you perhaps played even as a central defender, who was your favourite to play with?
I'd have to go Richard Dunn. Very underrated, very organised. He read the game very well. I was playing centre mid at the time. Then I was playing right back. Then I'd cover at centre back when Sylvain Distin was injured. And he just used to talk me through the game. It was ridiculous. He would tell me when to run, when to drop, and he would say, okay, I'll go win all the headers and you just cover because you're a bit quicker than me, you're a bit sharper on the turn. So I'll do all the aggressive sort of defending and you just use your pace to cover me. And the relationship I had with him was just brilliant. I've never played with someone who knew exactly what to do all of the time. He might not always make the right challenge or might not always make the right decision with a pass or linking up with play, but defensively, he always knew where to be. It was incredible.
Great stuff. On that note, we'll conclude our question and answer episode. Thank you very much for your questions once again, your continued support for the podcast. It's massively appreciated. I'm going to get some paracetamol and go to bed. So goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Thanks, everyone.